This is a supplemental video tutorial to the book Google SketchUp for Site Design by Daniel Tal. This video tutorial supplements Chapter 10 in the book. Because this book is about site design, covering architecture and associated site plans, trees and shrubs are also an important element found in site design, in particularly site plans in front of buildings, gardens, whatever it might be. I know when I first started to use SketchUp for landscape architecture work, it was difficult to find good trees. Once I was able to find good trees, it became hard to find and learn how to use good shrubs. So this video is a quick overview on some of the ways to incorporate trees and shrubs into your site plan. There is much information in my book about where to get components such as trees and shrubs, but I will briefly mention it here. There's the SketchUp free bonus pack that you can get from SketchUp.com, and the Form Fonts website, which probably is the ideal location to get vegetation. So here's the Form Fonts website, and I'm going to do a quick search on trees. And there's about 247 results. And there's a variety of different types of trees, anywhere from 2D images to 3D trees, and we're going to talk about those in a second. And also, I'm going to do a quick search on shrubs. And you can see there's a variety of different shrubs. Some trees do come up that can be used. So let's get started. There are two types of trees that you can use in a model: 2D trees and 3D trees. The example you see here in SketchUp are 3D trees. Well, there's two types of 3D trees, and it does make a difference in which one you use. The first type are trees as these examples on the left. If I zoom in real close, you can see that the leaves are made up of individual tree leaf faces. So every leaf on the tree is represented by a face of geometry. The trees themselves have a very interesting natural and aesthetic look and habit to them. Here's another example. And I love these types of trees because when I turn on the shadows, they really cast a nice texture on the ground, on objects, on each other, and really can enhance the scene, as you saw in the intro images to this video. The next type of trees that are 3D trees are trees such as these. They're not composed of individual tree leaves. Instead, they're composed of images. These flat 2D images were arranged by the modeler to actually represent tree leaves and branches. And they also, too, have a nice textured habit when you cast shadows on the ground. Now, using 3D trees has its drawback. You put enough of these in your model, and you'll have a very difficult time actually moving around and using the model. Now, I actually do recommend and provide suggestions in the book Google SketchUp for Site Design how to use 3D trees in your model and how to organize your model so it works and to get really nice scenes. For me personally, like I said, I don't miss the opportunity to use 3D trees, but then again, I'm a landscape architect. The next type of trees are 2D trees. Now, this is one of the example models from the book, and you can actually download this model from 3D Warehouse, as you can follow along with the models in the book. And one of those things I ask people to do is lay out 2D trees for this particular example. Now, 2D trees, I'm going to zoom up over them. If I look over them, you can see that they're just a flat plane. However, SketchUp has the ability to allow these components, such as these trees, to follow me. So no matter which way I turn on the camera, these trees will follow me around the scene, creating the illusion of a tree, which is great because these make your model a lot easier to use. And you can turn the shadows on, and they'll cast a nice shadow into the scene. So there are several ways to use, or really to manipulate, 2D and 3D trees to add even more character to your model. One of those things I love to do is to manipulate 2D trees, and there are two different ways to manipulate 2D trees, or to alter them, to make them look better in a model. The first one is to remove the solid color in a 2D tree. 2D trees, being a solid single face, can sometimes hide important detail in your model, in particular if you're trying to highlight architecture or anything on the ground. So, what I end up doing with 2D trees, and it doesn't matter if the trees come from Form Fonts or from 3D Warehouse or from SketchUp's bonus pack, is I'll turn on the material browser and I will select Sample Paint. I will select the face of the tree and I will go edit it, and you can see that there's an opacity bar. I'll move the opacity down and you can automatically see that this is altered the way my model actually views from a bird's eye perspective. I actually will do the same thing to the bark, kind of even it out, and there you go. That's one way to actually manipulate the 2D trees to add some character to your model, and the shadows are still casting, even though the material in the tree is still transparent. The other thing that I like to do with 2D trees is alter their height. This gives a bit of variety to the scene. So for example, and I'll turn the shadows off so I can work a bit faster, I'll select this tree, I'll activate the scale tool, and I'll adjust the height. And I'll go do this for a variety of the trees, because trees don't grow symmetrically or evenly in nature. So that changed the way my scene looks. So you can actually manipulate 3D trees as well. And you can use that using a Ruby script from smuster.com called Randor. This Ruby script and where to get it from is smuster.com, and how to use it is covered in the book once again. But I will quickly demonstrate it here. So you can see that these trees all have the same form in their branches and the way that they're facing. So I'm going to simply select them and I'll apply Randor. And now you can see that the trees and how they've been altered using the Ruby script Randor has made them look more natural, which is much more of a realistic thing when you look out in the real world. I'm going to finish this tutorial by just showing you my collection of shrubs that I have for my SketchUp models. All these shrubs are 3D. I don't use 2D shrubs because I haven't found the best 2D shrubs out there, and people really haven't made too many of them. And you can see that these are mostly from Form Fonts, a couple are from 3D Warehouse, and they add a lot of texture and shadows to your SketchUp models. I will put one warning out there. I suggest that if you are going to use 3D shrubs, that you do have a good understanding of how SketchUp does work, so you can actually manipulate your models so they can function well. And that finishes this video tutorial on trees and shrubs, and I leave you with a couple of images.